Welcome to That's Church. My sister Emmy and I are on a mission to open our hearts and minds by attending different churches here in Utah. We're talking to the beautiful people that make their church a community. We believe that gaining knowledge of other religions does not diminish our own faith, but can instead add to it.
If you haven't already listened to part 1 of our conversation with Imam Shuaib about his Islamic faith, you may want to go back to episode 9 in addition to this fascinating episode to come. Enjoy.
What is your connection to Jesus within your religion? Do you see him as a prophet or a because I know that Muhammad was the last prophet and the one you guys probably focus on the most, correct?
Correct. We see him as second to the last prophet, or we see him as the last prophet from this side of the family tree, right? Isaac. Because after Jesus, there was not a single prophet for 570 years till Prophet Muhammad was born. So Prophet Muhammad was born in the year 570. So you had this gap of 570 years without a single prophet. We look to him as one of the more higher ranking prophets, and the miracles that he performed, they're mentioned in the Quran: curing the blind, curing the lepers, bringing the dead back to life. But we believe this was all done with, as the Quran states, with the will of God, with God's permission. In other words, he was not acting on his own. He was not divine, but he is a servant of God like the rest of us. But he's a prophet. He received revelation. He received the gospel. We believe in his return. And I find this fascinating that all three monotheistic faiths are waiting for a Messiah.
Wow.
Christian brothers and sisters are also waiting for the return or the second coming of Jesus, right? People of the Jewish faith are also waiting for a Messiah, and we are also waiting for the second coming of Jesus.
Wow. And do you, so as a prophet, do you believe he will be the Messiah during the second coming, or what do you believe he will accomplish during that?
Yeah, when he returns, he will not come as a prophet. It's like, for example, if you have the Prime Minister of England, if he visits the United States, in the United States, he has no power or authority. He's a prime minister in his own country, England, right? He doesn't have any. He's out of his jurisdiction,
Right.
so to say. So Jesus, he will be a prophet, but when he returns, he will not come as a prophet. He will come as a follower of Prophet Muhammad. And his main function will be to kill the Antichrist. And what I mean, a follower of Prophet Muhammad, in essence, a Muslim is anyone who submits to the will of God. Simple as that. So if you take this definition, then we believe that Christians during the time of Jesus, if they were following the true teachings of Jesus, they were Muslim, right? The Israelites during the time of Moses, and even afterwards, if they are following the true teachings of Moses, they were Muslim. So Muslim simply means to submit to the will of God, right? What religion was Abraham? There was no Christianity, there was no Bible, there was no gospel, there was no Jesus, there was no Moses, there was no Old Testament. What was Abraham? He was a Muslim. He was simply someone who submitted his will to the will of God.
This is so fascinating. I've heard of Muhammad, but with my very little knowledge of your religion, I never made the connection that and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like Muhammad is to you what Jesus is to us, and it's okay for us to feel differently or see things in a different way. But all that it does in learning these things is make me feel more connected to your religion, and just more connected to humanity to be honest, because I do think that we are all just trying to connect to something bigger than us and something divine with the history and knowledge that we have within the Quran and the Bible and the Torah and all of these things.
Right. I
Totally.
would say a better comparison would be that the Quran is to us like Jesus is to the Christians.
Oh, okay.
Right. Instead of, Jesus is to Christians as Muhammad is to Muslims, I would say Jesus is to Christians as the Quran is to Muslims.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
We believe in the Quran to be the divine word of God, verbatim for verbatim.
Yes, we're really excited to learn more about that too in a bit, to hear more about the Quran and how precious it is to you and your religion. So you believe in 6 tenets of faith. Could you explain that to us and our listeners and what those entail?
Some of it we've covered in the 5 pillars, but the 6 tenets of faith is to believe in one God, and that's what we are really, really, should I say, focused on more than anything else, and that's what I would say more than 1/3 of the Quran is dedicated to, just the oneness of God. The second tenet of faith is to believe in the angels, that they are a creation of God, and arch amongst them is Gabriel. The third tenet of faith is to believe in the scriptures. So yes, we believe in the Torah sent to Moses, gospel that was sent to Jesus, Psalms that was sent to David, and the Quran that was sent to Prophet Muhammad. Peace be upon all of them. But our belief about the previous scriptures is that they have changed over time and they are not in their original form. That's why we insist the Quran is in Arabic. If you have a translation, it's just a translation of the Quran. It's not the Quran.
Okay. And that's why your prayers are read in Arabic.
Correct.
From the Quran.
Yes. So even though 82% of the Muslim population does not speak Arabic as a mother tongue, they can memorize a few passages in Arabic so they can recite them in their 5 daily prayers. We have people who have memorized millions, without any exaggeration, who have memorized the whole Quran from cover to cover, which is on average about 800 pages. My son, he just 11 years old, he just completed his memorization in June this summer.
Of the entire Quran?
Of the entire?
Yes.
At the age 11? Wow.
At age 11. The youngest,
that's incredible.
The youngest I have seen was a 6.5-year-old who completed memorization from the U.S. in Dearborn, Michigan. So we believe this is nothing short of a miracle because, not knowing Arabic, one is that you understand what you're memorizing. God said to Moses, go to Pharaoh. One is you don't understand what you're memorizing. That's even
wow.
So that's
that
the
is
Quran.
Impressive.
The fourth is to believe in the prophets, and we talked about the prophets. Then we talked about Jesus, and we talked about the family tree of prophets, Abraham and his 2 wives, Hagar and Sarah. And the 5th tenet of faith is to believe in the afterlife, that when we die, it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the story. It is the end of this world, but it's not the end of the story. We will rise up from our graves, shaking dirt from our hair, and we will be answerable to God for everything that we have said or done. And that is God's domain, and God alone will judge. And the 6th tenet of faith is to believe in destiny. Whatever happens, good or bad, was meant to be. Yeah, so that, in a nutshell, that is your 6 tenets of faith.
I think I believe all of them.
I love the
as well.
Yeah, I love the focus on destiny. That's really cool.
You mentioned the Antichrist. Who do you believe the Antichrist to be, or what do you believe the Antichrist to be? You said that Christ will come and destroy the Antichrist.
Right. He will be an embodiment of pure evil. He will be. We don't have an exact description, but he will be, like a mortal. He will, a human being. People will follow him. He will have a lot of followers. Someone who is pure, innocent, pure, holy is someone who can, and that is Jesus Christ. Pure and holy is the one who will take on someone who is pure evil, the Antichrist.
Interesting.
Okay, if you could give us a brief explanation of the Quran, and I know that that's like a huge question, so but just for our listeners who have no clue of what the Quran is, if you could just explain it a bit.
The main purpose of the Quran is to rectify the individual, right? Because, if the individual is the smallest unit of society is the individual. From the individual, we move to the family. From the family, we move to, the extended family. From the extended family, we move to a tribe or a community or a neighborhood. And we move to cities and towns and, counties and states. And if at the smallest level, if the individual is good, then the world community will be good. If the individual is corrupt, right, then the world will be corrupt. So the focus is on the individual, to build a better society in this world, and also for your own betterment and welfare in the hereafter, your own salvation in the hereafter. So that's the whole purpose, and that will start from having a strong foundational belief, because if your foundation is weak, then you can't really build a strong building on a weak foundation. So the foundation is your belief. And what would be your belief? That in God, that God is the all-powerful, the Almighty. So if your connection, if your belief, if your conviction, if your bond with God is there, and that's what Quran stresses more than anything else. As I mentioned before, more than 1/3 of the Quran is about God introducing himself, that who am I? Then we believe everything else will fall into place.
And the Quran was written by Muhammad, inspired by God. Is that correct?
No. Muhammad was only a conduit. So the word is the word of God. Okay. So the Quran was revealed over a period of 23 years, when Prophet Muhammad first received prophethood at the age of 40 till he died at the age of 63. So it would come in bits and pieces. And Prophet Muhammad would say to his disciples, this verse was revealed to me today, or this chapter was revealed to me today. Okay. And so this is the word of God, So Prophet Muhammad was actually unlettered. We say unlettered, you might say illiterate, uneducated, in the sense that he did not know how to read or write. So it kind of works in his favor or in our favor, because how could he have written the Quran if he did not know how to read and write?
Wow.
So we believe this was all divinely inspired.
Wow. It's so fascinating.
And was he born a regular man and then became a prophet, you said, at 40? How did that evolve?
Yes, he used to meditate in a cave, and close to Mecca. He was born in Mecca, and one day the angel Gabriel visited him and introduced the first revelation, and that's how it all began. In Mecca, people go and visit this cave, and then he came back and said to his wife, first and foremost, Khadija, that this is what has happened, and she was the first to believe in him. As a matter of fact, it shows his very human nature. He came and he was shivering, and he said to his wife, laying in her arms, "Cover me, cover me, cover me." So she covered him with a blanket, consoled him, and provided that very supportive role. And she was the first believer, and that's how it all began. But we don't look
Yeah.
at Prophet Muhammad as someone new or different. He's just a continuation of whatever has come before. Right? He gave an example of himself that I'm like a house that has been completed except for one brick. And people look at that house and say, where is this missing brick? Why is this brick missing? I am that last missing brick. So it's not a new religion or an exotic or Eastern or foreign Oriental religion. It's from the same source: God, Abraham, Adam, Moses, Jesus, all in that same continuity.
So much rich history there. Wow.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Yeah. I think there are some similarities in our own religion with like kind of how our religion was born and things like that. And I just would love to know how it all intersects. And I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of correlations I've noticed too. I'm like, wow, that's so intriguing.
Maybe we stole some things.
Yeah, possible. Totally possible.
Right. When it comes to the laws and the do's and don'ts, you will find that Muslims, our laws are very similar to people of the Jewish faith. Right. They observe kosher, we observe halal. You know, it's their women are required to cover their hair. The Orthodox Jews, the women will cover their hair with a wig, not with a scarf, but they will cover their hair. Muslim women cover their hair. So there's this, separation of men and women in both faith traditions. So sometimes we look at Islam as the things we do as very foreign, but if you compare it to the Jewish laws, they're very similar.
Wow.
Yeah.
So ironic.
And you're cousins, so it kind of makes sense.
Right.
We're all cousins.
That is right. And I know there are two different types of Muslims, the Shia and the Sunni. Is that right? Could you explain the differences between those?
Well, as I like to say, growing up in Chicago, I learned I was a Sunni from Ted Koppel. He was an anchor on the NBC nightly news. Shia Sunni is something that is played out in the media more often in the Western world than it is in the Muslim world, or even in an average Muslim household.
Okay.
I was never told by my father that I am a Sunni. Okay. We are simply Muslim. So most Muslims who would probably not prefer to be labeled as Shia or Sunni. Okay, we just say we are Muslim. But not to say that there's no difference. There are differences, and sometimes the Shias and the Sunnis groups in Muslim countries, they are at each other's throats, fighting it out. But the difference, if you ask, is that the Shia sect would place more emphasis on Prophet Muhammad's immediate family members. So they believe the Prophet's son-in-law should have been the first caliph after Prophet Muhammad died. He eventually did become the caliph, but he was the fourth one. His turn eventually came, and he was a successor, but not at first, second, or third as a fourth successor. It was mainly a political difference in the early centuries of Islam that evolved into a theological difference. So you can see it was a political difference who should be the caliph. The rest of the Muslim world would say that the first successor to Prophet Muhammad, Abu Bakr, the one after him, and the one after him were chosen based on meritocracy. They deserved it. They were eligible for this position of power and authority. Not as a prophet, because Prophet Muhammad was the last prophet, but as a political head of state. But the Shia group would say that no, he should have been the first successor of the prophet.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So just some differences in opinion, basically.
Right.
At the beginning.
Right.
Would you share with us, you've shared a lot of wisdom with us already, but do you have something, a piece of wisdom or a quote or something that's guided you in your life that you could share with our listeners?
Oh, I don't know if it's religious as such, but
Doesn't
it
need to
helps
be.
me. It does, probably not of a spiritual nature, but it definitely does help me in many aspects. You cannot change people's behavior, but you can change how you react to their behavior. So whether it's someone overtaking you instead of you falling into road rage, right? Then you can't change other people. Yes, you can
Tell
do
my
your best.
husband that about road rage. Tell my husband.
Yeah.
That is great advice. Our next one is we would like to know about your connection to a higher power, kind of on a personal level. Like how do you personally connect to God?
Well,
Sorry, these are big questions.
no, they're good questions. They're very good questions. Sometimes it's not about rituals. It looks like in Islam there are a lot of rituals, but you might go through the motions and not feel God, not feel connected to that higher power. And sometimes you might be doing something very mundane, a trivial act of kindness, and you might feel the connection with God at that very moment. What I call there's soul food. Sometimes we think of soul food as some food that is really delicious and it hits the spot, but we are made of both a physical substance and also a soul. We have a combination of both the physical and the divine in us. And this, whatever comes out from the earth feeds our physical bodies. Fruits and vegetables and meat comes from the earth and nourishes our physical body. Our souls, for the most part, are hungry, are starving because we don't get soul food. We need to feed our soul, right? That can come through rituals. It might not come through ritual acts of worship. It might come through acts of kindness, serving the needy, serving the poor. And you feel that, that feel good feeling that you have inside when you help someone. That is soul food. Otherwise, our souls are hungry and they're dying. Our bodies are physically healthy. We're going to the gym, we're exercising, we're eating healthy or whatnot, but our bodies are great, but our souls are not. So I think we need to focus more on soul and find what feeds our soul.
I love that.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That is beautiful. I'm going to think of that phrase, soul food, differently.
What am I doing for my spirit? Yeah, I think I go through times in my life that I definitely am more spiritually in tune than others. And this podcast itself has really helped me to kind of connect with my own spirituality and find soul food throughout all of the different communities that we visited. And I believe in different spiritual languages, and there's definitely different feelings and different spiritual languages that exist in each different religion. And I definitely felt a very strong spiritual feeling in your mosque, and it was a beautiful, different language, of spirit, and I loved it. I really enjoyed it so much. We talked a little bit about the pre-earth and post-earth life. When we talked about post-earth life, do you believe in the pre-earth life?
Yes, we believe that we all existed in the form of souls in heaven. So our souls were created thousands of years ago. And when it's our turn to come into this world, the soul is transferred from the heavens or should I say, from God into the womb of our mother. So yes, we all existed from the time of Adam in the form of souls.
Okay. And you believe we will go to be with God after this life. Do you have an idea of what that looks like?
It's either paradise or hell. And there are very graphic descriptions of both in the Quran. So yes, these are physical places, not imaginary or, metaphorical. These are physical places where a person will go to, or be destined to go to, or judged by God to go to one of these two places.
Okay. And you believe the angels reside there now? The angels that you believe in?
Well, angels, they, some of them are in the presence of God. Some of them are, worshiping God, singing his praise in the heavens. Some of them are with us in this world, performing different functions and duties. So yes, they're all over.
Okay.
Interesting. I believe that too.
Yeah.
I've felt angels on earth for sure. So, and then this last question, we ask all of our interviewees, and that is, what is your that's church moment? Meaning, what, speaking of souls, what do you do to rejuvenate your soul? And maybe it's not, like you said, ritualistic, but maybe it happens within the mundane, or what kind of brings you peace in life?
We call it our that's church moment.
Oh, I think,
but outside of church or mosque.
Yeah. I think it's something that no one knows that you have done, something good that you have done, but no one on God's green earth knows that you have done that good. Not even your spouse, no one from your congregation, So I might stand up in front of the congregation every Friday and give a fiery speech and a very motivational speech, but I don't know, That's up to God if he accepts it. I hope he blesses it with acceptance. But I don't know. But when I do something that really no one knows, then I kind of feel, okay, I think I got this. I think I got this in God's good books, because no one knows about it.
I love that. That's so beautiful. Yeah.
Now I want to know, what have you done?
It's those things. It's those things that you do for not for the prestige, not for the show, but just to feel God within your heart. That is such a wonderful note to end on.
I do just want to ask two more things of you. Those are the last of our questions, but I do want to know if people want to know more about Islam and Muslims in general, where would you tell them to go? And do you accept people to come and visit your services? Just kind of walk us through that. And if people have asked me, can we just show up? Do we need to make an appointment? What does that look like?
Well, it would be best to go to our website and to send us an email that you're coming, so we know, to expect you and to make sure you are comfortable when you come. I will appoint someone to wait for you at the lobby. But you don't have to. Anyone can come in anytime. It's a very open space. We have nothing to hide. So you're welcome to come, anyone, but it's probably preferred to come on a Friday and observe our Friday service, so you get the full range of experiences.
Okay. And women, just to kind of give people an idea, women are expected to wear clothing that covers to their wrists and their ankles. And that's how they'll best feel most comfortable.
Correct.
And they can wear a scarf if they intend to pray, but usually you just observe. Is that right?
Yes. Headscarf is not required, but of course you're welcome to wear it. But we do require, modest clothing.
And tell us your website for our listeners.
It's utislamiccenter.org.
Okay.
Awesome. Perfect. And share your YouTube channel as well for our listeners. Yeah. We'd love to know about that.
If you type in Imam, IMAM, space Shuaib, SHUAIB, you should be able to find that on YouTube.
I have one last request of you, and you can say no. I wonder if you could share a little prayer with us.
Sure. Yeah, we can have like a prayer in Arabic. We can start. اللهم وفقنا لما تحب وترضى اللهم ألهمنا مراشد أمورنا وعزنا من شرور أنفسنا O God, O Allah, O Creator of the heavens and the earth, we ask that you guide us to the best of our affairs and save us from the evil of ourselves. And O Allah, O God, O Yahweh, we ask that you enable us to do that which is most pleasing to you. Amen.
Amen. Wow. Thank you so much. This has been so
beautiful.
insightful. Thank you.
You are welcome.
We really
you are most welcome.
Thank you so much for following us on That's Church. It means a lot. It would help us out even more if you would leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and a rating on Spotify. You can follow us on our Instagram page at That's Church Podcast. Come back next week to hear from the amazing Mesa Kurge, a beautiful member of the Imam's congregation. You will be so impressed with all the service that she does within her own community, within the LDS community, and even within the prison system. You will not want to miss it. See you then.
Imam Shuaib.
Shuaib.
Like the shoe. Yes.
Yes.
The shoe you put on your foot. And Abe.
Okay. And as I was writing the questions, we had so many questions. I learned so much at the Meet the Muslims that my questions grew and grew and grew. And I hope you weren't offended the whole time. I looked at the video that was posted on your Instagram, and I was in them in some of the pictures. And I was on my phone the whole time, and I was just fervently taking notes the entire time. It was all so fascinating.
She was on TikTok. She's lying.
I promise.
Okay.
It was so good.
Before we start, can you spend about 2-3 minutes telling me about yourself, where you're from, and your background?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So nice of you.
That is so nice. We grew up in South Jordan. We're sisters. So we grew up in the same household, and we're LDS, and our grandparents were in a mixed faith marriage, and we just looked up to them so much, and we thought that was really interesting that they could make that work. And we just have always been really interested in other religions. And so we just have decided that, you know what, we really want to know about them, and this is a really good way to do that. We want to provide an opportunity for people to listen and to gain a little bit of insight and add some light and knowledge to their own light and knowledge. So that's our goal. We've just learned so much, and we love it. Yeah.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah, it's been really eye-opening to see how many people are intrigued about other religions. We kind of thought it was just us. We hoped that other people would be interested, and it's been very eye-opening to see how many people have resonated with our podcast already. A little bit about me. So I am married with 3 small children, and my Instagram account is more focused on finding the nuances in religion and kind of showing that religion is not always a one-size-fits-all for everyone, and that we all have, even someone in the same religion can have a totally different experience within that religion. So kind of finding the individual spirituality in each religion. And that's kind of what I want to bring to my children as well as knowledge about other religions. So we've actually taken our kids to a couple other churches and worship services, and I hope to continue to do that because it's fascinating to see their perspective going to those places. And I think that can only bring them more love and acceptance for the different communities, religious or not, that are around them.
Yeah, that's our whole intent from Meet the Muslims, to introduce Islam in a very fun way and interactive, and people, our non-Muslim brothers and sisters can come and meet the Muslims. That's why we call it Meet the Muslims. I think we took it from the LDS. There was a program called Meet the Mormons.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
I hope they didn't have a copyright on it, but anyhow, we kind of copied it from them.
I love that. No, that was great. And it was very well organized, and it was just so impressive all around.
I've a little bit of experience, and probably maybe in the future you can help me with my YouTube channel.
We listened to Mesa's as well, and she did an amazing job. She was a really great recommendation. Sometimes I like to put bloopers in at the end. I think there are a lot of misconceptions with your religion in particular, and so we really hope that people feel the beautiful nature of what you provide.
That's church.